I'm thinking back when I was working for the Miami Herald, and I was an assistant city editor or somewhere in that range. We would be hearing complaints from people. You'd get people calling up in the middle of the night saying they had a brother who got beaten up by a cop. Our reporters would go out on assignment and they'd stumble upon somebody who talks about getting beaten up by a cop. We heard these stories over and over and over again, and you know, in the press of business, sometimes you don't pursue things as vigorously as you should. Finally, these stories became a fever pitch, and we decided we had to do something about it. So what do? Internal affairs. Every police department has an internal affairs department, and their purpose in life is to examine these kinds of things. So we went to the Internal Affairs Division, Metro government, and asked to see closed files. This is not ongoing investigations, files that had been reviewed, adjudicated, closed. No, can't have it. Like the public records. Can't have it. So we went to lawyers. Lawyers said, well, sure, they're public records. They're open and shut. It's black letter law. They're open. They talked to the county lawyers. County lawyers said, no, take up the bidding for their client. Can't have it. So, you know, not to be deterred, we said, well, what we need to do is to find another way around this. One of the telltale signs of a police brutality case starts with a resisting arrest charge against the guy who's accusing the person of brutality. Lawsuits, many victims file lawsuits. Many people, when they're beaten up, file a complaint with the cops. So, you know, doing bank shots and availing ourselves of the existing public records, the ones that were so unambiguously public records that they couldn't deny them to us, we built a fairly strong case of evidence of police brutality. At the same time, we sued to get access to the internal affairs files, because the internal affairs files would have showed us how the police hierarchy handled these things. You know, it was kind of half the story. To document that there was brutality going on and well-founded allegations of brutality was one part of the story. But the second part, and maybe the most important part, was, well, how does the police department deal with these cases? And that we couldn't touch. It was while the lawsuit, that's why we filed the lawsuit. So the lawsuit ground on, the reporters continued to do their work. We finally got enough data to support a good multi-part series that was very serviceable. It told people that there was a small but active group of Metro cops who were systematically beating the hell out of people. And it stirred public debate. There was a robust discussion, and it ended there. Meanwhile, we continued to press that suit. Finally, a year after we first made the request, we got a favorable ruling from the circuit court that we had won the case. So we sent the people back, began collecting data. You know, it was a time when we were just the dawn of computer-assisted journalism was getting in there, so we were able to assess a lot of material, volume of material. And what we discovered was just what we had suspected from the beginning, and that is that rarely did a internal affairs investigation go against the cop, even in the cases where the city had actually settled a claim for police brutality. Those people didn't get their fingers smashed or their wrists slapped. So it was a great revelation, but it was a good example of how a government agency can trip you up just by saying no. I call it the just say no defense. The example of these kinds of things goes on forever. We at NEFAC, which is the acronym for the New England First Amendment Coalition, have recently begun distributing a report, a monthly report, that tries to capture all of the activity that gets reported in New England's newspapers on FOI disputes. And typically, you'll find 30 or so of these things. Of course, not everything, that doesn't reflect all of the FOI violations that go on, because this is only those things that get reported. Now, just the other week, AP did, I thought, a dandy story on the misuse of computer time at state government. People were downloading pornography, watching Final Four games, running small businesses on their own. And the AP, the story I read said, obtained an email that was basically the human services director alerting his staff to behave themselves and not to misuse the computers and like that. But part of the story said that the AP had made an FOI request earlier for his documents. And what were they told? Privacy trumps public interest in this case. So you can't have these records. Now, if the story didn't have the happy ending that it did, namely that a source probably made available an email to the AP, and our AP representative would probably put in more than my speculation. And you never would have known that a legitimate FOI request had been made and denied on the flimsiest of exemptions. But it's